Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul, hopefully having an amazing day. AMD is said to be considering raising the TDP for the Ryzen 7 9700X, which in theory anyway would in turn increase the maximum base clock and boost clocks that you can expect from the part. Now, this currently is a rumor, but the default TDP for the 9700X is 65 watts, according to AMD's official website. I'm recording this video on the 27th of June, and as you can see from AMD's website, the maximum boost clock is 5.5, whereas the base clock is 3.8. Obviously, the boost clock can vary based on a plethora of different criteria, for example, the number of threads which are loaded, temperature, and so on and so forth. But AMD are yet to issue a comment on this. Basically, hardwarelux.de reached out to AMD and they pretty much just got a no comment as their response, which isn't too surprising because if this is true and the specification is currently being evaluated, they may not have made a decision. So where does this rumor stem from? Well, basically, Hassan over at WCCF Tech, and there's also an article on WCCF Tech covering this as well, said that based on the information that they have learned, AMD has updated its partners with a possible spec change for the 8-core part, and the Ryzen 7 9700X may get a TDP of 120 watts, which is basically 2x its current official figure of 65. Now, do note that the specification is currently under evaluation, so this may not occur because it's so close to launch that, well, even if they want to change the specification at this point, they just may not be able to for a number of different reasons. Now, I would actually be very interested if they did this. 120 watts is also a figure that has been shared with the 9900X, which is a 12-core processor. So theoretically, anyway, it would mean that we're going to see higher clock frequencies. It will be very interesting if that was to occur. And it potentially anyway mean that this processor would be closer or maybe even surpass the 7800X 3D, which of course has that tasty V-cache. Now, the rumor is that the V-cache variant of Zen 5 are actually going to launch earlier than what we saw previously. In other words, the gap between the vanilla and X3D parts is going to be shorter. The rumor right now, and it seems to have been essentially confirmed, that the Zen 5 vanilla processors are going to launch in the end of July the 31st. That is with the exception of Strix Point, which is going to be available for pre-order earlier. But the X3D variant, and this has not been confirmed yet, but there are many who are reporting it is true, those are going to launch in September, which coincidentally is also the month that we're expecting to see Intel launch its next generation of processors. Personally speaking, I think that it's maybe a good thing if AMD did raise the TDP if it was to lead to higher frequencies. With that said, I don't have these processors to test myself, so I don't know what the boost behavior is or how much of a difference that raised TDP is going to make. So I'm just going to, give you guys a shrug on that one. It's very difficult to make any predictions based on a processor that I quite frankly haven't tested myself. With that said, personally, if I was plonking down my own money, I would probably just wait until we have Intel and AMD's processors available on store shelves so you can basically have a better understanding of what the performance is of the specific processors. And then if the X3D variants have launched or haven't launched, you can still make a more informed purchase. Again, that's just my personal opinion on that, and you can kind of make of it as you will. Speaking of Intel, I just want to mention one other real quick story. And this is basically, well, I'm sure most of you are aware of the 13th and 14th generation processor situation with Intel and the concerns over stability. For what it's worth, I have a 13900K myself, and my processor has been fine with default behavior on an Asus board. I'm running a Strix 690, but my processor being fine and me not running into issues is not the same thing as, well, I'm fine. The whole situation doesn't exist, clearly. Obviously, many people are experiencing issues, and according to ZDNet Korea, I want to give credit to WC, who I spotted this story on. They basically said that if the issues of stability are not clearly resolved, it's going to lead to customers well, just not trusting Intel processors, and this of course is going to have a negative impact on Arrow Lake. Now, Arrow Lake of course is going to launch in the 4th quarter. The rumor is, once again, it's going to be end of September. So if this does happen, I do think some people are just going to skip. I'll be very interested, to be honest, if you have like a Zen 4 processor, or you already have like a 13900K or a 12900K or something like that. I suspect many people may just skip this generation. It's not that the processors are bad, like, you know, the 9950X, for example. It looks very impressive. Like, it genuinely does look great. The problem is, like, if you are primarily gaming, how much of an import, how much of just how much of an improvement is it going to be? You know, kind of the question that I suspect many people are going to be asking themselves. So anyway, one final story that I do want to tackle today, because a couple of people are actually DMing me about this one actually, and it basically concerns both PlayStation and Xbox. Now, at the moment, certain variants of the PlayStation 5 as well as Xbox do have disk drives, of course, like the Xbox Series S doesn't, but the Series X does, and so on and so forth. But the rumor is that the PlayStation 6 is going to have a disk drive. My personal opinion is probably Sony are going to handle it quite similar to what they have with the PS5 Pro. With that said, I haven't exactly heard a ton of stuff regarding the specifications of the PS6, only that they're most likely going to be sticking with AMD. But according to an industry analyst by the name of Mat Piscatella, hopefully I've pronounced that correctly. If not, please someone correct me in the comments down below. Basically, he believes that folks should just get used to there's going to be no physical version of Xbox games for the next generation, and he thinks that PlayStation, it's going to be another generation, so that's going to be like PS6 essentially has physical, but PS7 does not. Meanwhile, Nintendo is probably going to be a couple of more generations, so I think that that's quite likely, honestly. I don't think Nintendo are going to want to give up carts quite yet. Personally, I like physical. For consoles, that's just my personal preference. I really like having physical media for consoles. With PCs, obviously I'm used to just downloading stuff with Steam, although I will admit I am still a little sad that big box PC games have gone in the way of the dodo, but for consoles, I just like having the disc. Again, that's just my personal thing. I know for many folks, they are happy to embrace digital, but it's going to be very interesting. I personally, if we do get a PlayStation 6 having physical, that would definitely be a very good thing in my personal opinion. With that said, guys, I'm going to run off and leave you to it. Apologies for not being on camera for this one, but yeah, it's just like ridiculously hot at the moment in the UK, so I decided, well, you know, it's either that or you have me once again sleeveless on camera. So with that said, take care of yourselves. Bye for now.